Welcome back to the channel, family. Welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad that you all are here. If you made it to this channel, congratulations. This is a sacred channel where we will explore various topics, and we will go where the Spirit takes us. As of right now, I'm taking a journey, sort of ritualistic per se, and so the next 30 days, 40 days, next 40 days is going to be, I'm really going to be going in as it pertains to this subject. So today I will be talking about the spiritual path. The spiritual path and esoteric knowledge. Okay? And which really is man's ultimate goal. When you look at the human being, and he looks at his environment, he sees and able to recognize that there's something peculiar about himself that is very different from all other life forms. If you look at the gorilla, or if you look at any other animal, do they have the ability to praise and worship? You understand what I'm saying? Do they have the ability, to build, sacred temples and dedicate them to something higher than itself? When you look at the concept of God, the concept of God is realizing, or is man realizing, that it has to be something greater than him that brought him into existence. Okay, and when you are dealing with esoteric knowledge or esoteric information, okay, this is, the student or the adept, okay, or the sage, trying to reach up into that realm, from the source, okay, and grasp that information that exists, with the all-knowing creator. And this has a very powerful implement in magic. Okay, and if you look at magic in its earliest form, it is said to go back to ancient Egypt, which was described as Heka. Okay? And Heka was magic and medicine. Okay? And that's just powerful in itself. to get into magic and medicine. Okay. But Heka means using the Ka. Okay, using your Ka is the personification of magic. Now, what is the Ka? Ka is one aspect of the soul, or the whole, one aspect of the soul body. You know, just like in the Jewish tradition, they have the Nefesh, the Nashima, the Haya, the Yachad, and you know, these different forms of the soul, okay? And it was the same in ancient Egypt. The Ka, the Ba, the Sekhem, the Aku, and so forth. Alright? And also, you would see it is said to be a Jewish mystical text, which is a Hekalat. Alright? And another thing that's really important to recognize on the subject or topic of ancient Egypt is Osiris. Okay, the Osiris, one of the Osirian stories that's pretty much very popular is, you know, Osiris being chopped into pieces, being put back together, you know, by his divine wife, Isis or Aset, alright, and being resurrected to have a son, Heru, or Horus, right, who is another personification of Osiris, of his father. And so I was reading a book. I forget what book it is. I'm not gonna look for it. But the book says something pretty deep. And the book took the word remember. And well, in the book, the writer described the word remember. And he took the word remember and he broke it to remembered. Okay, and he associated with Osiris because Osiris was remembered, put back whole again. So to remember is to put the pieces together, to be brought back whole again. That's remembering. You see? But another thing about Osiris is that Osiris is a divine aspect of our soul. Is very similar to the esoteric Gnostic concept of the Christ, right? Because the Gnostics deal with attainment, and the Gnostics deal with attainment, with the higher being and the higher aspect, and this higher being, this higher, well, attainment to the one God, you know, the first cause or the creator of everything in existence. But you know, they have in some of their writings, you know, a very different view on Christ and on Jesus, right? Which is a spiritual entity inside of man. All right, and just a sidebar. I have a video I talked about veganism, and I explained it to be connected to magic, just from my perspective, because the earliest form of a purification of no eating of no animals I have seen goes back to ritual, and I guess you could say religion, which is now called magic. But magic and religion is very similar. The only difference between magic and religion is that religion, modern day religion, has a power construct pushing it. And this power construct basically, sets the perception, or gives the perception of certain things in the eyes of individuals or to people who are under that construct. So magic was looked at as something evil and looked at as something forbidden, but in its purest form, it was just another, or it was a different religious practice that was different from what was being pushed by the power construct. But I talked about how the veganism has a connection to ritual and purification, and going 7 days or 14 days of eating of sustaining with no animal products, and to me, it was just something to me. So the sidebar was that the Greeks actually mentioned that the Egyptians was the healthiest and most religious people in the world. And that's really important to understand, because sometimes people think it's far-fetched to say, okay, you telling me all of this came out of Egypt, you telling me they created everything, but if you do the research, you can see that it's so many things, especially as it pertains to spirituality and so many other things. The farthest pointer we got a lot of this stuff goes back to ancient Egypt. All right, and ancient Egypt deals with symbolism, and a symbol is magic that evokes the form that's bound in the spell of matter. To evoke is not to imagine. All right, it is to live the form. So whether it's ancient Egypt or whether it's any type of form, if you're dealing with Christianity, if you're dealing with Islam, when you are invoking, all right, first of all, what is to evoke? All right, now when you look at the etymology of the word God, it says to call upon or to invoke. So anything that you call upon or that you invoke or call upon, by definition, that's a God. But so usually a person would think, okay, well, this is prayer. You call upon, Jesus help me. May Allah be with us. Jehovah, or whatever deity or personification or name that someone is using. They want the presence of God in their life or to guide them. But what I think is important to understand is that, can we invoke something without prayer? Can we evoke something through feeling? Can we evoke something through watching and giving it energy? Can we evoke something through reading a story? You know, a lot of people isn't aware, like when you read in the Bible, and a lot of people are just taking this as a good story, or they're taking it as history, or whatever the case may be. But a lot of people don't understand is that when you read the story of Jacob, that is to invoke Jacob qualities in you. When you're reading the story of Noah, that is to invoke the Noah quality in you. You're reading the story of, of Abraham, that is to evoke the Abraham quality in you. You're reading the story of Moses, that is to invoke the Moses quality of you. Every religion, it's a ladder. It's a ladder. You're climbing a ladder, to a divine realm, through devotion, and through practice, any religion. I don't care what religion it is, or any spiritual practice. When a person is really serious, and if a person is really devoted, the end goal of the religion is to transcend the physical realm, all right, and to reach a higher, to reach a higher self, to reach a higher knowledge. And when you look at what's very famous, the chakra systems, from the lower chakras to the higher chakras, or you look at the Sephiroth, the lower Sephiroths from the higher Sephiroths. The whole object is to transcend that lower nature, and to rise to the higher nature. But the only thing about the Sephiroth is actually bringing the higher realm down to the lower realm, But we maybe can get into that a little later. So, poetry is magic. All right. Magic is identification with form, with body, and with spirit. All right. So magic is using the ka. You're using your spirit. All right. You're moving something in the spiritual realm and affecting something in the physical realm, and which is basically what people call metaphysics. This is beyond the physical. You're dealing with something beyond the physical. Religion is metaphysical. You're dealing with something beyond the physical. You're talking about angels. You're talking about the Creator. This is all beyond. This is all beyond, the physical. Right? All right. So, a lot of times when people look at ancient Egypt, they call them pagans. They call them, idolaters, or whatever the word is. They say they worship idols because there are certain aspects that's polarized. But these different aspects is a unification of the whole. All right, just like when you look at our solar system, you have different planets, doing their own thing, vibrating on their own frequency, traveling on their own path. But all together, this creates our solar system. All right, just like our body, you have different functions, different organs, different body parts, but in unity, it's a whole. Same thing with the tradition of the Kabbalah and the Sephiroth, which I may get into depending on how long I take to, rim my mouth and just babble on and talk about what I'm talking about now. But, the Sephiroth are different polarized energies that are a unity of the whole, right? And in the Zohar, it speaks about the perfect name. What is the perfect name? The perfect name is, Elohim. Elohim Yahweh, or people say Yahweh or Jehovah. But if you study, you know that the true pronunciation of his name is lost. So I would just refer to it as Yod Hey Vav Hey. That's what I refer to it as. Okay. But that's what I refer to it as. But Elohim, Yod Hey Vav Hey is the perfect name because it's really understanding that it's a unity. It's the unity of God. The unity of God is the polarized aspects as one. God is one in unity. All right, in unity. All right, the kingdom. So knowledge is to grasp abstraction directly without needing to define it in any way. All right, and this is what Swallow de Lopez talks about a lot. If you read his works, he said that when the Greeks came in, they wanted to find, and they wanted to think rationally, and he just believed that this was a lower level and a lower form of knowledge. So if you will read Swallow de Lopez, you will see that he really speaks about gnosis, right? He really speaks about gnosis. How to make discernible what is only tangible through the spirit. Looking, hearing, feeling, being aware. Being is a state of consciousness. Different from the one we exhibited yesterday. Alright? So I'm going to just leave that there. Opposite is what is lacking in the other. Beautiful and ugly. Union is neither beautiful or ugly. It is the supernal sense of harmony. Alright, so since we still speaking about unity, when you look at ancient Egypt and you look at the Netchers, or what I described as polarized universal energies or universal aspects, which everybody knows, that they have counterparts, something similar to a positive and a negative. There's a male and there's a female. Thoth, or Tahuti has Shishat. Osiris has, Isis, and Het Heru, or if that's her name. But anyways, so be conscious of oneself, the ego conscious. No multiplicity in the physical state. The number 0. Unity consciousness of self. Consciousness is a metaphysical power, synthesis, that contains in itself an idea of particularities, nature. Alright? A form cannot change into another form unless the first is completely decomposed into its essential component elements. Everything and every being contains a fixed nucleus that neither purification nor fire can destroy. The Ba and the Ka, volatile and fixed. The sevenfold planetary system found in the electronic layers of the atom. Serpent entwined around the tree trunk shows the rising spiral of the life flux around the spinal column. Everything in the universe is moving from birth to death. Transformation allows it to acquire another form. Alright, so the serpent entwined around the tree trunk shows the rising spiral of the life flux around the spinal column, which is usually called Kundalini, which was very famous, back when I was in my beginning stages on my journey into awakening. And I remember one time I was at work, and this was like 2012, and I was at work, man. I was telling some guys at work, I was talking to them about how, going on a 30-day fast and abstaining from sex, and preserving the seed, can actually, help you, to rise to a higher state of consciousness, whatever the case. And these dudes was looking at me like I was nuts. They was looking at me like I was nuts. Right? So acidity and alkalinity, active and passive. Atom is energy, and its electronic layer emit photons. Negative and positive electrons require the presence of the other. Alright, so, that's the same principle, of the unity, of the Netchers, of the Asar, of the Isis, the Tahuti and the Sishat, the counterparts, of the Sephirah, of the Had, of the Mazak, of the Nakhut and the Yesod, of the Bora and the Hesed, and that's just, the unity that creates the whole. Alright? Will is esoteric, effect is exoteric. So we got an inner and an outer. The inner affects the outer. Right? When you look at the circle of Ra, you see a point inside of the circle. And the point controls the circle. Right? And symbol is an expression of will. All sages of the world have attributed a nature, a cosmic principle, to each part of the human body, organs and vital functions. Higher knowledge does not know problems, only tasks and realizations, positive realizations. The real relationship with oneself and the world. So when you're looking at pharaonic thought in ancient Egypt, their essential concern was the survival of the knowledge of the metaphysics of existence, the present incarnation being merely a passage. The Book of the Dead, Book of Souls Transmigrations. Metal Nurture, hieroglyphic development, intentionally pictorial symbolic thought. Knowledge that is a initiation into the secret life. Knowledge of the key of life. And I would like to ask you all, what do this look like right here? What is this? What did this writing look familiar of? Don't this writing look familiar? Don't this look like something we've seen before? Don't this writing look really similar? Okay. So, let me see where I'm at. Oh, I'm still on. So, when you're looking at rising to a higher spiritual plane consciously, I want to say there's rules, so to speak, or you know, a guideline, you know, a guideline or a map to follow in order, you know, in order to position yourself spiritually to be in alignment.